Aloha and welcome to Spirit Chat Radio. Today we're going to be talking about something that I think I've actually covered this before in in like a podcast or two before, but I thought it would be good to do an update on it because I've been getting some questions about having a spiritual awakening and depression and if they can go together. Before I get into that, however, I want to go over some stuff with you guys. If you are not on my email list, I have been working crazy hours. Some of you know this, some of you don't. Trying to get this new thing together that I'm going to be launching for you guys. And it's something that I think that a lot of you will find helpful. I have some digital products going on, but I'm also going to be having some physical products happening, and I will send out the information first to my email list. Even though I send it out, I'll talk about it on a podcast and in the videos and all that as it comes. If you're not interested in being on the email list, I do give my email list a little bit of special attention, and they kind of get wind of a lot of things that I'm doing first. So make sure you're on the list if you're interested at all, because I have a lot of people saying, well, I heard you talk about this, and, how can I do this or get a hold of this or whatever. And so if you're interested in the stuff that I do, and I know I'm being a little vague for those of you going, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. But anyways, just stay tuned. And I know I keep saying that. But get on my email list, my VIP email list. You can go to keystothespiritworld.com and you can get on the email list by a couple different ways. There's some pop-ups there. There's a psychic ability quiz and an empath quiz. Those I spend a lot of time on. If you guys are wondering if you have empathic skills, or if you're wondering about what psychic senses or psychic abilities you have, I put a lot of hours into making those accurate. So you can either do that, or there's just a place to enter an email somewhere on that front page. The other thing that I want to remind everybody of is the Higher Purpose Learning Group, which is where I got this question from, which made me want to address it more. So I do listen to you guys in the Higher Purpose Learning Group, which actually you guys in the group know this. I listen to everybody in there, and we come up, with subjects, or if someone's having a hard time with something, I do podcasts on them. So that's a great place to join our spirit community and interact with other like-minded people, etc., etc. So, Higher Purpose Learning Group, you want to go to keystothespiritworld.com, upper right-hand corner. There's a button that says Spirit Community. Click on that. You can ask to join. Also, I think if you scroll down the page, there's a little box that says Spirit Community. Okay, so let's get started. On spiritual awakening and depression, somebody said, is it possible, or do they go hand in hand, or is it possible to have depression when you're having a spiritual awakening? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. In fact, I think, personally, from what I've watched with people, friends, family, clients, what I've experienced is I think that people kind of go through some more ups and downs more than they go through the euphoria of the whole thing. So what I mean by that is I think that people are under the impression that when you have this spiritual awakening, all stuff is going to be like, wow, the skies are going to part and you're going to have clarity and you're just going to feel zen and in a zone, and life is just going to get better because, you're aligned, and they're excited about that. And that's kind of what they look for with a spiritual awakening. And that is a huge misconception. That can happen in some regards if you are not afraid of making different choices, if you're kind of open to just sort of letting the universe guide you, and you're okay with winging things because you don't need to be in control. That works for people like that, but I find that most people like that are not adults. They're kids and teenagers. Kids and teenagers are totally down and fine with winging their day or winging how they're going to do something, or just going, oh yeah, well, let's go this direction. Like, adults don't tend to have that same response. And so they have a very different reaction. So for instance, let's kind of walk you through this scenario a little bit. Say a lot of people right now are trying to raise their vibration, and they're basically trying to tune into their psychic senses. And you may or may not know that this is kind of what happens, but what a spiritual awakening is it is essentially raising your vibration. It's allowing, when you raise your vibration, it allows you to tune in to the spiritual realm, because the spiritual realm has a vibration that is higher than the physical realm, the physical planet and the physical people. Everything vibrates. This is not metaphysical, it's actually science. So, even things that you can touch, your TV and your bed and whatever, on a molecular level, there's vibration. So in the physical realm, the vibration is a lower tone. So imagine it like maybe music notes. The lower tones would be more of a physical vibration. The higher notes, the higher tones, would be a spiritual realm vibration. So even when you're in the physical world, when you raise your vibration high enough that you begin to have it closer to the spiritual realm, a wonderful thing does happen, even if you're not really kind of realizing it. You have the ability to then tune into information in the spiritual realm, which is a lot of information that you cannot see per se. You can sense, feel, and you can see in some regards, but it is something that is not more as visual to the eye, okay? And you can tune into the physical world, which is a lot more physical to the eye. Everything that we're doing sort of has a physical component to it. So you have the best of both worlds, essentially, supposedly, right? You have the best of both worlds. But what begins to happen when people raise their vibration is they begin to really tune into themselves on a soul level. So the part of themselves who they are in their natural state, your soul, the core being of who you are, begins to get more present. Because when you're born into the physical world, what happens is, because we're physical, your mental thoughts and things begin to be primary over, your physical body, your brain, your mental thought process begins to get primary over the spiritual energetic body, which is tuned into who you are on a soul level. So they battle a little bit. And your intuition, I was just talking to somebody about this today, and if you're listening, you know who you are. But they battle a little bit. I mean, even I do this for a living, and I can battle a little bit with it, where my intuition is saying, hey, here's what you're going to do, or here's how I see this turning out for you. And I know it. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Like, I know it to the core of my being. This is happening when my intuition is like, yep, this is where you're going. This is where you're headed. This is how this is going to unfold. Know it all the time. But sometimes, because I'm also human, and I'm not always teaching, sometimes my brain wants to go, I'm not really sure I'm down with that path, because I can't really see how that's going to work out the way that I'm hoping it to. So then I become in my own battle between my intuition and my mind. Fortunately, I have done this for so long, or I've not done this. What I mean is I've been psychic for so long, my entire life, to where I have, when I was a young teenager, I would really try to battle it and pretend like, oh yeah, like I got this intuition, don't worry. And then the intuition was like, okay. And things just went the way the intuition wanted it to, because that's just the way it's going to happen. And then I just learned not to fight it. So, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to just kind of battle it a little bit before I give in. Just because apparently, maybe I'm just stubborn. I'm just probably more stubborn than I realize. So anyways, what happens naturally is that to everybody. When you raise your vibration, you start having, you have access to a lot of information that is in the spiritual realm. And you also have access to the soul and who you are on a soul level. Now, who you are on a soul level, your spiritual body, is not necessarily attached to material things. And I've talked about this before. You're not attached to, having 47 pairs of shoes, but you're attached to feeling a certain way when you're wearing the shoes because it makes you feel good, it makes you feel pretty, it makes you feel whatever that may be. You're not necessarily attached to money per se, although everybody thinks they are. They're attached to the freedom money can give. People don't think about this enough, but you're attached to the freedom of it. You're attached to not having to work all the time and maybe being able to spend some free time with your kids or your grandkids or your significant other, or spend some time traveling because, that's what money brings. So the interesting thing with that is because we're in a physical world, everybody comes very attached to the physical component. But your spiritual body is not attached to the physical component of anything. It's attached to the feeling and the joy and all that stuff that raises your vibration. So, I am getting to this, you guys. I'm just trying to explain it to you in a way that I think that, you'll understand how this kind of works, because it doesn't just help you to go, oh, yep, absolutely. Depression is part of it. So what happens when you spiritually awaken, tune into that side of yourself? You have access to all the spiritual information. Your vibration is raising. All this stuff is downloading, and your intuition is heightening, and you should be doing certain things, and you're really more now spiritually driven. You're more soul driven to what brightens your soul and what really makes you feel good on a soul level. The problem is a lot of times when you have this awakening, more often than not, you've made decisions in your life that are not cohesive with the soul's vibration being high. And what I mean by that is you've made decisions a lot of times when you live in the physical realm and you haven't bridged the gap yet between your soul's desires and the spiritual realm. You make decisions based on money. You make decisions based on fear. You make decisions based on worry. That's how most people make decisions. They're very scared and worried that things aren't going to work out, or nervous about something being a certain way, or they have been taught that you have to, be responsible, work a 9-to-5 job, and you have to just pick the best paying job, and then you have to work really hard at what you do in order to have any of these things that you desire. 47 pairs of shoes, a vacation, a 2-week vacation a year if you're lucky, a nice place to live, a car that you enjoy. That's kind of how it goes. So when the spiritual awakening happens, you tune into that spiritual side of yourself. You tune into your soul. Your soul's like, wait a minute. I don't really care about all these things, and I'm not really down with these choices you've been making. So I'm not real happy about it right now. Then you can feel yourself vibrationally on a soul level. When you raise your vibration, you can feel your spiritual body, your energetic body. When your vibration is lower, you cannot. So people who are not experiencing a spiritual awakening, they can ignore their energetic body and their spiritual body for long periods of time because their brain and their thought process in the physical world is primary to them. It becomes the main part of who they are. When you have a spiritual awakening, the energetic body can become very primary, or even share a relationship and be a 50-50 part of who you are with the physical world. And your energetic spiritual body is not down with a lot of choices that people make in their physical body. The energetic body wants to keep its vibration high always. And in order to keep a high vibration, it craves happiness and laughter and love and all these feelings that are joyful. That's what the spiritual body really reacts to. It resonates to. It raises its vibration higher. And so that's what causes the depression. That's what causes people to be confused. This is what causes anxieties, is you spiritually awaken and now you feel like crap, basically, because now you feel kind of sad or detached or unsatisfied from where you were previously. And you're like, well, this is a bummer because before I was feeling great. Now I've spiritually awakened and I'm not feeling so awesome. And sometimes when you spiritually awaken, it's kind of hard to go backwards. You can ignore it and then you'll realize it's not going to work out for you very well, just like I did when I was a teenager. But, it's hard to kind of undo very quickly. I mean, you'd have to practice at it for a while. So what do you do? What do you do when you realize, when you spiritually awaken and you're like, well, now it's kind of like you can't unsee something you've seen. Once you spiritually awaken, it's kind of like you can't unawaken. I guess you could probably eventually if you tried really hard. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I guess you could forget something you've seen years later, but it's kind of like you can't undo it. So what do you do? Well, there's a few things that you can do. One of the things is you start paying more attention to the choices that you're making in life. You start paying more attention to the major things that are causing you the most discomfort. The things, I would start with the larger things, at least not making like a major shift necessarily right away, because we don't want to literally jack up your entire world. But once you recognize some of the things that are causing you the most discomfort, and you start addressing those first. For instance, maybe you're not happy at your work. Maybe you realize that maybe this is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. Maybe that it's not fulfilling for you. Maybe the hours aren't working for you. Maybe you just feel like you're really working hard for something you just don't give a crap about. I don't know. It could be any of those things. Like I said, it's not that you just go in tomorrow after you listen to this podcast and quit your job. That'd be ridiculous. But what you can do from that point is just even being aware of it is really helpful vibrationally, because now you can compartmentalize it physically and spiritually. You can compartmentalize the energy, and you can compartmentalize with your brain that, okay, this is an area that's causing me some problems. Then you can move forward and make plans to make some shifts happen. You can start searching for, and I'm going to still use a job scenario. So what is it that would be fulfilling for me? What do I feel drawn to? What excites me? What do I feel passionate about? And at least that's how you start addressing a situation such as a job, is trying to figure out what brings you joy in life, what brings you happiness and passion. Like, what do you get excited about? And then you start moving that direction. And then you go, okay, well, maybe skiing makes somebody happy. Then you start going and discovering those areas. Well, what could I do that would be more related to that area of my passion? And don't think of one or two things, because literally I've been over this with people before. It's not like you have one or two things that happen. There's so many things that can be related to one area of passion. That's ridiculous. So another thing is relationships. Relationships tend to, I guess I would say, magnify when you have a spiritual awakening. What you like and what you don't like about people becomes magnified like under a magnifying glass. The likes and dislikes become greatly apparent. And the reason that they become greatly apparent is because, again, when you spiritually awaken and your vibration begins to raise, your spiritual body will start to put out energetic feelers everywhere you go and with everything you're doing. You probably won't know that that's what you're doing, but that is what you're doing. So you can imagine these little energetic tentacles out and really touching things that you do and places that you go and people that you come into contact with. And if the people in your life, they could be friends, family, spouses, whatever, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, if they don't match your vibration, you'll get like almost a tingy hit on it. You'll be like, things will start to become uncomfortable in any situation where you're not matching the vibration. So when your vibration raises, if your job isn't matching your vibration, if it's not a high vibration job for you, if it's not feeling like a high vibration place, then your high vibration is going to be going, this is feeling icky and uncomfortable and I'm not liking this. Like, this is not matching me. The same with friends and family and your relationships. With anybody that is in your life, if they're not matching your vibration or close to your vibration, let's say they're at a lot lower vibration, you're going to start going, this is really not working for me. I'm not liking this. You might feel edgy. You might feel irritated. You might feel angry. You might just be over it. I don't know, but you will have, that's something that I think surprises, actually a lot of this is something that I think surprises a lot of people, that they're not aware of when they're spiritually awakening, is the reactions that they're going to have to their life and the loved ones that they've surrounded themselves with. It's not that you don't have to have these people in your life, but you may notice that they're not being as beneficial to you or as positive in your life as you thought maybe they were before. And so your relationship dynamics many times shift a lot when you raise your vibration. And so the last thing that a lot of people don't realize happens when they raise their vibration is they have a lot of physical signs and symptoms, I guess I would say. And, you know, and emotional, because emotional would be like the depression. And with that also, a lot of people, when they spiritually awaken, will get anxiety. Anxiety is huge when you're spiritually awakening. It's like you become very raw energetically, and you can feel all the energy around you, where again you were very buffered before. You could ignore it. You weren't really in tune with it. So it was just like shut out of your life if you're in your physical body completely. But once you tune into your spiritual body, there's no shaking that raw energetic feeling that you're feeling from everywhere. So there's so many physical signs that can also happen. I'm not going to address those on this podcast because I know for a fact I've done a couple of them on physical signs your vibration is raising, and that would be a better thing for that. So I hope that you found this helpful. The other thing that I want to let you guys know is, you get through it usually. I mean, unless you just continue to make choices that are not in alignment with your new vibration. And by that, I mean, you're not in alignment with joy. So if you're not in alignment with just making choices based on feeling good and feeling happy and things that make you feel good and you feel happy, not like other people around you, because they have their own vibration that they need to worry about and deal with. And your choices, even if they tell you it's not true, can't really affect their vibration. I mean, their thinking and their perspective on what you did can affect their vibration, but that's not really your responsibility. So when you learn to figure out what choices and things that are going on in your life that are making you uncomfortable and that are not matching your vibration, when you learn that that is a new thing that you're just seeing, you're seeing it with new eyes, and you start addressing those things and you start planning to shift those things in the future. When you start planning to make changes in your life to match your new vibration, things are going to get better for you than you ever imagined. Because when you start making choices based on your happiness, a whole nother thing happens. You start aligning with universal laws. And that is more powerful than anything you've ever experienced. It is amazing when the universal laws kick in and stuff starts coming in out of nowhere and things start happening out of nowhere. And sorry about that if that's loud, but I don't want to stop this podcast now. Anyways, things will come into your life that you are like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. Like, you will attract all this really cool stuff into your life when you're in alignment. Or you can go the other direction and you can try to force yourself to, continue to live the way that you were comfortable living when you just were a lower vibration, when you were just happy with being in your physical body and not being of a higher vibration. That's not going to work out real great, and you'll continue to feel probably the same way usually if you don't make any shifts or changes that are in alignment with your happiness. So you have a lot of control. It's something that it's not, don't feel like, well, I don't have any control over this now that I've opened my vibration, because that's 100% not true. You have all the control. And you alone have all the control. Literally, you're holding the controls. So how you handle it is gonna really dictate the outcome. But if you start making choices that align with your soul and your happiness and just joy, not on material things, you just start making choices on, this would be fun, I would enjoy this, I feel passionate about this, or just like, I would rather do this today because it just sounds more fun. Then you're going to see things shift. So hopefully you found this helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTunes. YouTunes. That's a new thing, right? YouTube or iTunes, wherever you're listening. Don't forget to comment below. I always read through the comments, even if I don't get through to everybody. And don't forget to join the Higher Purpose Learning Group if you're not in it. And until next time, have the most amazing day. All right. Aloha.
Black Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.